I want to welcome everybody back to I Am Piscataway. We had a very busy month of May as well as into June. Our guests this evening include Pastor Reverend Rouse, who is also the newest at-large council member of Piscataway Township Council, as well as Lisa Stevens, our assessor for Piscataway Township, and our executive director of the Piscataway Community Center, NY, Kyle Strohman. We also have clips from the Piscataway Firemen's Memorial Service, as well as the American Legion sponsored service on Memorial Day, and also the Flag Day ceremony sponsored by the Piscataway Elks, and clips from the New Jersey Parks and Recreation Awards. I am honored to be here with you today as we pay tribute to the firefighters for whom the last alarm has sounded.
You know, we do this every year in memory of all these heroes. You know, in the pandemic, people were occasionally putting a sign out saying, "Heroes live here." Before the pandemic, we knew all of these men and women were heroes. They've been here for our town for generations.
And we want to thank God for the men and women that are currently serving. The men and women that are on the fence of thinking about volunteering. I want to encourage you today to make a great community. It takes community members to help the community.
Let us remember their names. Let us herald their bravery. Let us trend humbly in their memory. For those serving now in one of our fire companies, thank you. On behalf of a grateful township, we are indebted to your service. Thank you, and God bless each and every one of you. These past many months have been difficult for our nation. Unfortunately, it has become a time of questioning what it means to be an American, to be a citizen of the greatest country in the history of the world. Our democracy has been tested. The fibers that bind our country have been strained, yet we are here. We stand here today in unity, in respect, and in awe of those whom have guarded our lives in our republic.
I really hope that today is a safe day for everybody, but an opportunity to remember those who made our country, protected our country, and serve for us as an example to this day. Thank you.
While we rightfully pause this day in great respect for our veterans, let us recommit ourselves to the work of citizens. Let us live up to their legacy. Let us create America that knows no war abroad or strife within our land. Let us remember those who've served in uniform and did so for the life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness for all Americans. We do have a guest in studio here. We're both wearing masks and 6 feet apart. We have our newest council member on the governing body here with us, Reverend Linwood Rouse of Macedonia Church, who's also now the councilman at large, who succeeded Chanel McCullum, who was elevated to the County Commissioner Board. So good to see you. Thanks you for coming I Am Piscataway, Reverend Rouse.
Good morning, Mayor.
No, it's, I noticed this isn't probably one of your dreams to be on the governing body and on a bucket list item, but I have known you for several decades with all the work that you've done within the community and through the township volunteer boards and commissions, and maybe you might want to give the folks of the viewership at PCTV a little bit about your background and what you're all about, and I'll ask some questions from there.
All right. Yes. First of all, and most, that I'm excited and very happy to be a part of now what you call hands-on a little bit than when before, of like some of the committees and activities was at a little distance, but always in the back supporting. And now I feel more up front. But I know, like, to turn on youth, the mission, the Missile Alliance, and then helping certain or those council people who were part of our ward do the certain things. And then, Mayor, you know, anything that the township need or call on, on whatever level it has been, just been an ultimate supporter, because I felt that's the best I could do. But I'm looking forward now to be excited about now and probably happen to even be out front a little more, doing and helping and supporting that, always for Piscataway, that it be a better community, and always with the residents and the citizens' need or want or their concerns.
So I have to laugh when the Reverend Rouse is talking about being supportive. He's now going to experience getting a lot of phone calls from residents at large within our community, where in the past he would be one dialing the phone to try to help to get something out. So now, now you're going to be a role reversal here. So why don't you tell a little bit of personal about your personal life and maybe your education and things like that, so people get know a little bit about yourself. Okay.
Actually, I was introduced to Piscataway in my teenage years, becoming active in the community, because I knew several of the people. Was introduced to Mervyn Alexander. Yes, back in the day, and I was excited about.
For those, I just want to couch it for those folks that out there. That was the late Mervyn Alexander, who was a township councilman from 1980 to, I believe it was 1989.
89, the 80s. I do know it was the 80s. Yes.
He was the on the first African American to be elected to the township council, and also to the township the Board of Education too, Piscataway.
Yes.
So he was a trend center.
That he was, and also he didn't know it, but he was also somewhat of a mentor for me. Being early on in my years of here in Piscataway, and if you remember, I got very much involved with the high school and with the Board of Education, making sure to see whatever I could do, then to make sure all the children, all the young people could get all the, I guess, assistance that it was available for them. But then later on, I moved on to other things that would be concerned, like community more, to include everybody. One of the big reasons why I was so interested in the community center was I made a promise to the young people that when we remove the pool, that we will get a new pool, and they would love it. And to see that dream come true, or that push to get it done, I still am excited.
And that's very interesting you're bringing that up, Reverend, because you were there at ground zero when that was originally being punted around, so to speak, on how we were going to bed. So you experienced what we did in Councilman Khan firsthand, of all the ups and downs, so to speak, of trying to get this over the finish line.
Yes, and to see it happen in spite of those things, and to look back, you're more appreciative of it, not that others are not, but you know what it actually took to get to that point, so that everybody can come here now and to see that we have one of the best that I've seen around in a community center.
Well, I had a laugh over on Memorial Day weekend, or last weekend, when it was very hot out. You know, the outdoor spray park, there wasn't a seat to be had out there. I mean, with the amount of folks out there, and it was really nice seeing a lot of young families. And even grandparents there with the grandkids and things like that. And that's what government tries to do, is to bring folks together for the enjoyment of their community. Because in this day and age, with COVID, not everybody's going to take a vacation or have the economic means to take a vacation. Because, you know, there's obviously, as you know, Pastor, there's still a lot of people struggling to pay their rent bills, utility bills. and things along that line. And so if they can have a reasonable, inexpensive alternative to have some downtime with their family and enjoy and being close in the community, that's to me, that makes me happy to see that.
Yes.
You know, that we've actually accomplished something very good for the community.
And I want to say that, and on several other fronts, like other little things that just was there, I said as a supporter, but now out front. But I still was excited about it, working with Councilman Khan and the trucks off of River Road.
Yeah.
We fought that, and every way we could.
And you live in a general vicinity.
Yes, and I used to report to, and we used to talk, and then later on then came about the guns out of control.
Yeah.
And that was so, and then the parks.
Yeah.
I just loved all that we were doing, and a lot of things was on the outside, helping for the inside, but also like parks to help our citizens to have nice places that if you can't go somewhere, Piscataway is still one of the most beautiful places.
And you experienced that too, not just by your neighbors, but a leader of one of the local congregations. You have a lot of young youth within your church that, you know, use those facilities.
Exactly. And with Jim and Donovan.
Yeah, Kevin
Donovan to help refurbish the basketball courts, and which connected to some fields, whatever. And I remember even helping by creating some activities for our young folk during the summer months to stay busy and have things to do with a little small basketball. And the township was very much supportive of that. And I guess that's why I feel so excited right now about what we did, what we have accomplished, and looking forward to the future. I just believe that we can do so much more.
There's always, I think the sky's the limit to a certain extent with the possibilities. I think now, from what we're seeing is, I think we got a trend here. You're going to see more and more families stay closer to home and enjoy, at least for the foreseeable several years.
Right.
You know, because let's just face it, not everybody's going to be able to travel.
No.
Or like I said before, have the economic means. But you know what? And that's why a lot of times, as you know, Pastor, that we normally see people that don't live in our community come in and use our parks because they hear about it through living in other towns. Say, hey, listen, Piscataway's got some of the better facilities. Why don't you go over there? And that was the thing. Like last week when the spray park was open, which by the way it'll be open this weekend, and then once graduation happens down at the high school. Then that means it'll be open 7 days a week, the spray park. But, you know, you had a lot of people that lived in the community or didn't live in the communities, heard about the spray park, came over to it, and of course it was like 95 degrees. And then they wanted to find out about how enjoying it up to the community center. Because they saw the building and all the things that has to offer and the programming.
Yeah, I can see where the entire family can come. And really, really enjoy themselves in terms of refreshing the spray park, being there. Then some may want to come inside and do other activities. But I'm so glad that our community city is answering some of the requests and needs of families. And like you said, and this, you know, the word keep coming up, but the pandemic has left us, I don't know if everything will ever be normal again, but it doesn't stop us from creating a new normal that people are still excited about.
That's true. Now, you mentioned a few minutes ago, we got about 5 minutes left, you were speaking about that you were involved with the Municipal Alliance.
Yes.
Can you give us, explain what the Municipal Alliance is about?
Well, the Municipal Alliance is, what I like about it, it is so close to
I know what it's about, but I just...
Yeah, I said it's so close to what I was doing before with the Turn On Youth, in helping the young people, looking out for different, I guess, woes that would come to a family in terms of one exciting thing that I like about them, they was giving us information upon information upon information to be aware as parents, be aware as guardians of the community, what activities and what criminal or whatever source it was out there that our young people are facing. And I often went to some of the workshops, some of the showings, some of the speakings, and that's one side of the Municipal Alliance that I was involved with. before I got kind of cut back a little bit.
And just for the viewership, it's not just for young youth, it's also for parents too.
Parents, exactly. Educating them to come out to the workshops, come out to, one-sided thing, which to me was that I participated in, was that they would have different groups come in and actually show parents and let them know that your child is at risk. That's before opioids even became known as it is, that this is how it's happening, because you're looking for bottles and whatever, pills and whatever, and they got all kinds of things like candy boxes. And so it went into depth. And that was very educational for the parents to have, so that they could help their kids from home. And then they would bring in others to back it up on how to, I guess, how to identify, how to target. So that's just one aspect of it. And then the other side of it was that I saw that they started reaching out to the high school, to other help groups, to other alliances in close towns, whatever. So that's just one part of the municipal alliance that we talk about, and or that we are doing. And then there's other things where we come to form a group. We talk about quite a few things, the areas of what we can do to better the township and make them aware. I believe it's a great resource of information that you normally wouldn't come across if you were just there searching and searching. They make it available to you.
But the advantage of, when we have a couple minutes left, the advantage of the Municipal Alliance of the meetings is that parents, they weren't speaking with somebody on the phone, they were speaking to somebody in person, or dealing with other parents who have had to overcome certain issues.
That's true.
Right there. And
that's true.
It's not like a group therapy session, it's just like, the whole idea is just preventive maintenance.
Yes, that's it.
Both from the youth point and the parenting point.
I agree. I mean, that is what it is. That's what we do. And like you said, we can't somehow go way out of there, but we can take you to the point. What's the old saying that you can get that horse or whatever it is to the fountain or to the water? Now we want you to drink.
Yeah.
Can't make you, but you can't say that we didn't offer a way out or a way of solution, and you would have to take it from there.
Yeah. So I want to close out, and you're married, and your bride's name is?
Sheila.
Sheila, okay.
Yes.
And a lot of other close family members there, so.
Yes, in the county. And Sheila was actually raised in Piscataway. She a graduate of Piscataway High School, junior high, elementary, right all the way down, come up through. So she actually was.
So she's like me. We never knew.
Yes.
We didn't know how to exit Piscataway.
Yes. And love it still.
Love it still. So, well, Pastor, thank you for stopping by on Piscataway, and we really appreciate it. We look forward to working with you over the next year and change, because you're actually running for the unexpired term that's left, but hoping that if you do succeed in that we'll have you for another couple of years after that. So we know you're a hands-on person and very accessible and will be very accessible to the general public. So with that, we're going to go to our next video and another interview. When we come back, we're going to have Lisa Stevens on, our municipal assessor.
Right.
The purpose of this service is to honor our country's flag, to celebrate the anniversary of its birth, and to recall the achievements attained beneath its folds. It is quite appropriate that such a service should be held by the Order of Elks, an organization that is distinctively American, intensely patriotic, and without counterpart.
Please let me express the gratitude of our community for you. You are upholding a wonderful tradition. Across the country, you are bringing Americans together. We sorely need this day. For many months, citizens have been physically apart and politically divided. Our daily lives changed to protect the public health. We also saw events on our televisions that earlier would have been unthinkable. Our responsibilities as citizens were debated, our democracy was tested, our national fabric was strained. But now on this day, Americans gather as neighbors under a banner that unites us.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And we have our next guest is Lisa Stevens, who has to be our township assessor that we have on the show. Lisa doesn't come on that much on Eye on Piscataway, but whenever you see Lisa on, then that means there's very pertinent news out of her office. And I guess basically the pertinent news, Lisa, you might want to explain to the residents how we're going to continue the revolving 5-year program of the evaluation of the township properties. So take it away, Lisa.
Okay, well, thank you for having me on. So as most people know, Piscataway is doing annual reassessments. We started in 2018 with the whole town, and now we're doing quadrants within the 5-year cycle, as you stated. So what happens with the reason why we do the reassessment, we'll start there, is to make sure that everyone is assessed as close to 100% of value as possible. And then once we do that, it makes sure that everyone is paying their fair share of taxes, no more, no less. So that's the reason why we're doing the reassessments. So how it works? Well, each year we pick a part of town to do inspections. Fire District 4 was the first section of town that was done. And
in this full disclosure, I live in District 4, so that was completed.
Yes, that was completed. And what the goal is, we hire a firm to go out and do interior and exterior inspections. So you may have seen people with PPA shirts on, that's the company, and they knock on your door. And we send a letter out about 2 weeks before the inspection starts, just to give you a heads up. Somebody's going to be knocking on your door. So they knock on your door. They say, I'm here to do the inspection on behalf of the town. They walk around the exterior of your home. They measure it. Then they come inside, and they just go room to room, and they're just checking off what you have in your home, the number of bedrooms, the bathrooms, basements, if they're finished, and the condition, because that all goes into determining what the value, helping to determine what the value of your property is. And then on the exterior, they're going to note if you have pools or sheds and any exterior amenities. Then after that data is collected, it comes back to my office. We look at everything, we make the necessary changes, and then we actually go back and look at market conditions. So the inspection is part of your value, and then we also look at market conditions, which is another part of your value.
So for what happened in like a case in my house, the inspector was there for less than 5 minutes.
Right. It's a very quick inspection. They have a tablet. They go through. They're just noting what's there. If it's as the homeowner, of course you're going to be there. You can tell the inspector if there's anything of note, if there's problems in your home. That's the time to let them know.
Like
so that
for
they
instance,
can take
they
advantage.
may have on a card that you have a finished basement, and it might be only halfway finished.
Right.
There's a big difference with that.
Yes, there's a difference. Although we don't assess basements or attic finish like we would your living space, it is assessed. So if only half of your basement is finished, you definitely would like the inspector to see that and to make note of it. Also, this year, last year we only did exterior, and now we've moved.
So the area that was finished last year in regards for the exterior was over in the Arbor and part of the New Market section of the town. Basically, all the Arbor Fire District and a portion of the New Market District.
Right, that's correct. So last year, all of Arbor and just the part of New Market that actually abuts Arbor, just exteriors, because as we know, the world was a lot different last year this time than it is right now. So the town opted to just do exterior inspections, and whatever was outside, they measured and they would pick up. So this year, and the state allowed us to do that. All this comes under the purview of the Division of Taxation. They're the ones who give us the guidelines on how to operate for the revaluations and reassessments. So now this year, the inspectors will be back out again, but they're going to do internal and external. So all of Arbor and all of New Market are all going to be inspected this year. So, but with one caveat, there will be an option for people who may have some concerns of still with COVID and people in and out of their homes, will have the option to have a virtual inspection.
So what, they'll be able to walk around with their phone on a video and basically show that there's XYZ bedrooms, bathrooms, because whoever, if they do it that route, they'll still have a tablet, the inspector,
right.
But they'll...
Well, what'll happen is you're actually, in the letter, it's going to explain, there's going to be a number you can call, you make an appointment, and the inspector, so they will, it's going to be via Zoom, so you'll get a link, and what the inspection will do, sometimes the inspector will be out in the field and use their tablet, but there's also the option for them to actually be at a desktop so that they get a better look at, the screen is bigger, they can see more. But yeah, basically the homeowner or the property owner would just take their phone or a tablet, and the inspector's going to direct them. They may say, okay, let's start outside so they can see the front of your house, go through. They're going to tell you room to room, where to go, what they're looking for. And it's basically a 360 in each room. And they're going to take the same information they would take if they were out at your home. They're not recording. There's no retention of any data, so people don't have to worry about the town having, any recorded data, because that's not going to be done.
Yeah, and I think the company in the town, we would never want to keep that data because there's a privacy issue too. So.
Exactly. So the only thing we're trying to see is what's in your home, how many bedrooms, bathrooms, and the condition, just like we would with a physical inspection. So that's really the long and the short of it. The reason it's important, and we're really asked residents to cooperate with us, because we do want to make sure everyone is assessed fairly. We want to make sure that you only pay what is necessary based on your individual property.
Yeah, and I know when we had this, going back a couple of years back, I think 2014, we had like 2,000 property owners that didn't let the inspectors in the door. And what happened is that why don't you explain what highest and best use is?
So what happens is, if you do not let them in, if it's a refusal, now if you're not home, that's a little bit different. We'll make another attempt. We'll leave you a note and say, hey, we missed you. Please contact us so we can come in. But if you just refuse and say, no, I'm not going to let you in my home, then we have to make some assumptions. And what they are is that you do have a finished basement, that you upgraded your kitchen and your bathrooms. So your property is probably going to be assessed for more than what it would be if we had seen it. And the reason is because we don't want to, we just can't, we have to make assumptions. And most people if you've owned your house for some number of years, most of us have done some type of upgrade to our home. I mean, a lot of people haven't as well. But the assumption is going to be that you did, and in order for us to make a change, we would have to gain access to the interior.
And that's why, there's a couple things going on. One is assessing and one's pulling permits. What we've found that, some people who did not want to pull permits because they didn't want anybody coming and inspect, or B, they didn't want to have to get an additional assessment. But what's happening now is that especially in this housing market, when people are putting their houses for sale or their property, it's being picked up then, because the prospective buyers hire inspectors on their behalf with their attorneys, and they find all these things in the houses that when they look at the cards or the information that's on file in your office, and they say, hey, well, listen, this is new, this is not on the card, so they didn't get an inspection. And what ends up happening, it delays the closings, because they may have to go for a variance, or they might have to pull permits, and it could be quite problematic, especially if you got a job transfer or something, you have to sell your property very quickly.
Right, and that's why it really is to the benefit of the property owner. And what we find too, as well, is not only with permitting, but then that burden gets pushed on to the new property owner, which really it's not fair to them. But we have a lot of savvy property buyers in town, so they do the inspections, and it delays unnecessarily. So the seller has to end up waiting, and then the buyers, everybody's waiting. If you just let us in when we come, or contact us if we can't get in, and we'll work with you. The company's very good. My office is very good. So we will work around schedules, but it is important that we gain entry.
And I want to just reiterate, go back to what Lisa said initially a few minutes ago, is that we want to make sure that people are not paying any more than they have to. And I can't express that enough, that you should, whether it's virtual or in person, you should let the inspectors in to check that out, because ultimately at the end of the day, if you don't, you're going to be paying a heck of a lot more money. And I get it that some people have a philosophical disagreement. They don't want anybody coming in their house other than their family. We understand that, but you got to also look at the respect that, not just in Piscataway, but in other communities. Franklin does a revolving thing that we do now too. So it's incumbent upon the homeowner to make sure that you let the special assessor in to make sure it's on the up and up.
Yeah, and if you think about it, you're kind of subsidizing the other property owners in town, and you're paying more than you should, most likely. And then over the years, if you pay extra $100 or $200 a year, and you're in your home for 20 years, it does add up. Yeah, and it stays that way until we get in. So if it's a refusal, the only way that we're going to know exactly how to assess you is to actually have eyes on and actually come into the property.
Delving not into the revalve, but reassessment, but a lot of people are seeing that there's a tight housing market. Homes are at a premium now in the state of New Jersey, and also here in Piscataway Township. So you might want to talk to some residents, even though you're not a licensed real estate, but you're an assessor. What you have seen coming through the door, what's going on in the marketplace right now?
I mean, demand is very high and supply is very low. So all properties are a premium. It doesn't matter the condition. I mean, we've seen sales that are $100,000 over what we had to assess for, and we're doing them every year. So we're trying to. Last year, the value may have been $300. We may see someone buying $400 or $450. I mean, there's bidding wars. It's outrageous, some of the things that are going on, and it's cyclical. So, now that things are we're settling back in, and, more housing may become available. So the market goes up and the market goes down. So that we do take that into consideration, though. We know that the market is very tight right now, and that people are paying a premium, that people are going into bidding. So we do look at that. So just because you paid $100,000 more for your property doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to see a $100,000 increase in your assessment, because we understand that you may have paid because that was the only property that was available, and you're moving, or various reasons. So. But in the next year, we'll look at the values again, and if the market is settled, then we adjust. That's the beauty of doing annual reassessment.
Well, that's the reason why we're doing it, because you're going to pick it up when the market's heading up, and you're going to pick it up when the market's heading down. Exactly.
So that is one of the pluses, and I think it helps, keep the rateable base stable, and it helps with budgeting. So when
that's the other thing. I don't think the general public, because if we don't have the ratio at a certain percentage, what ends up happening is the corporations are able to file tax appeals because of the housing market, and basically in the municipal government we're subsidizing other government entities, and then we're subsidizing other county towns too.
Right, and that's exactly what was happening prior to the revaluation that we did back in 2014. The commercial market and industrial market is not what it was today. And so basically they were winning tax appeals, which means that burden was shifting to the residential.
To the homeowners.
Yes, and so anytime we reduce something, the town still has to collect whatever we budgeted for. So that means that some other sector or some other properties are going to have to make up the difference from what was given back through a tax appeal.
So I want to just remind the viewers that it'll be on the municipal Facebook and on our website, and you will be getting letters in that quadrant of the town. They're going to have the reassessment. And then, of course, if you have any questions, you can always pick up the phone and call Lisa or at her office, or the people that are going on behalf of the town around there. So we'll keep everybody abreast on it. We just want to make sure everybody is treated fairly economically. That's the key.
That's the goal.
So with that, I want to thank Lisa for coming on, and we want to go to the video, and we're going to have Kyle Strohman from the Piscataway Community Center in Metuchen Edison Y come on next.
Our gnome to yours was Piscataway Township's non-contact Halloween costume contest, which provided an opportunity for seniors that had been isolated during COVID-19. Congratulations to the Piscataway Township Senior Center.
It brought so much joy to the seniors in the community because, as we know, so many seniors could not get out during this isolating time. So we wanted a mission and went around the community to their homes, dressed like gnomes, and brought them some joy for the day and took their picture, and it was a true success.
The Piscataway Community Center gives the residents of Piscataway and the surrounding areas a place where everyone feels welcome and can participate in a variety of activities. The project was mainly funded through the pilot program. However, several fundraising events were held and many donations came in from local residents, corporations, as well as grant money from the county and the state. Please join me in welcoming Mayor Brian Waller to the stage to accept the Excellence in Design Award.
It's not too often when public officials are around long enough to actually see a vision come to fruition. This was an odyssey that started actually 16 years ago, and I am just totally blown away by the reaction of our township residents when they go in and use this facility. It's something that I wish I had as a kid growing up in town, but I now know that another couple of generations will be able to use this facility and enjoy it while they're growing up.
When you meet Jim Bullard, he leaves a lasting impression on you as he is a dynamic and charismatic individual. He spends time to get to know you as a person no matter what age you are. He has served as a Piscataway Township Councilman since 2010, serving the residents of the 2nd Ward. I am honored and thrilled to congratulate and present the 2021 NJRPA Public Service Award to Councilman James Bullard.
This is such a pleasure to be here. I spend a lot of my time in the community because there are lots of people who need service of that nature. And it's a pleasure to be out there with all. Thank you very, very much.
I want to welcome Kyle Strohman back from the Metuchen Edison branch of the Piscataway Y. Back on set here at I Am Piscataway. It's the middle of June right now. School is going to be getting out soon. What can residents who may contemplate joining or residents who have already joined, what can they expect from the Piscataway branch of the Metuchen Edison Y?
Well, they can expect it to truly start to reopen as we have seen a lot of the regulation pieces subside. We've learned so much over this last year, but we're going to be able to see so many fun activities for families and individuals. So we have fitness classes that are launching at this point in time for our adult participants that want to get together.
So when you say fitness classes, is this the personal trainers that are actually helping like with a group of 6 or 7 adults, or is it just one-on-one, or?
Both are true. So if you would like to end up working with a personal trainer and have that one-on-one training session to meet your goals, we all know that this past year plus has been a challenge, to say the least. So many people are just trying to really refocus on their own personal health. And so we have those individual personal training packages that can work with an expert to motivate, educate, and help you achieve your goals. Then we have those group sessions that are just like what you're talking about, where it might be a group of 6, 10, 15 classes that are out there. So we have boot camp classes, we've got yoga, we've got spin.
Which, by the way, I don't know if not everybody in the viewership probably has been over to the community center. The spin room alone, I can't wait to see when they get that wholly filled up with everybody spinning at once with the class going. That's got to be pretty interesting.
It's going to have a unique energy to it because it is such a perfect space for spinning. At this point in time, as we've been trying to reintroduce people into their health and wellness goals, we've moved that into the gymnasium because it has just a little bit more space, a little bit more airflow, and that makes our community feel a little safer to get involved and started. Because those other studios are exactly what you want, which will be a little bit closer. But what I continue to try to remind individuals is this building was built with vision. And that means we've got state-of-the-art airflow. We are filtering the air that's in there. We've got fresh air that's being replaced inside this building. So it really was perfectly designed for really the unexpected that we just went through in the last 18 months.
It's, because God knows over the years I sat in a lot of meetings about this, but it's really now coming home to the fact that a lot of the decisions that were made 3 and 4 years ago, because we were talking about expenses and we were trade-offs, and they were saying, no, we don't want to do this on the cheap. We want to make sure that this is going to last, and then we need all the most state-of-the-art things to technology. And it's a good thing that we did incorporate all that in the design, because now, it's as you were just mentioning about, if we had done just a standard building without that, I mean, we would have been, sitting, there with, on our hands, not being able to do anything.
You're exactly right. When we were seeing what were the recommendations, what did we need in the health code policies that were coming out, and these exceptional engineers were all looking at these things, we could just go down that list and check. So it really made the opening a safe and comfortable environment, but that doesn't mean that everyone doesn't need to be reassured. So it's really great to go through the conversations, share what we know, show where we can back up what we're saying, and it really keeps a safe environment for people to get back together as a community. And so we're seeing that, and we're seeing the comfort level continue to grow, and that's what makes it such an exciting time.
Well, I had to laugh because when I stopped over the past Sunday when it was really hot out, just to swing by the spray park, Kyle, it was incredible watching the amount of diversity from young parents to kids to grandparents with their grandkids, and even just older couples just there with no grandkids, just hanging out, just enjoying the day. So there was a very large cross-section of the population there using a facility that, in theory, when you open it up, you think, oh, no, this is going to be just geared for little kids. But even there was almost roughly the half amount of adults for kids there, which I thought was very interesting.
I think that's a great observation. We've been seeing that as well. You run all of these forecasts of what it's going to look like as a business. Where's your market? How do you find those things? And what has been unique is that truly the entire community of Piscataway has embraced its community center. And I think you've astutely pointed it out. We are really seeing a full cross-section, which is so much more fun and so much better for what we're trying to accomplish.
I asked these two gentlemen, they were in lounge chairs. I said, so what made you two to come here to the spray park, just out of curiosity, because you wanted to see what people think? Well, we didn't feel like driving down the shore, and then, this looks like we were driving by, this looks like a nice facility, and we thought we'd give it a go, and we said we're glad we did, so we're going to come back. It's just, you don't know what it's in people's minds sometimes, but it's just, and in a lot of cases with membership driving, a lot of it's by word of mouth too.
It has been at this point. We have not been able to do some of the larger, more robust plans that we had as far as our membership campaigns, but word of mouth has been important. So whether it was our families that took part in the remote learning educational program that we were doing, they really fed and filled up our summer camp program. Those that were coming in for wellness, they wanted to get on the treadmill, get involved in a program of some sort. They definitely have shared it with their friends, and now we've got small groups of people working out together. And then the aquatic center has been its own somewhat of a separate entity as they've come in to lap swim and do some of those other things. Now they're quick to be able to enjoy just a few hours on the spray park after some lap swimming or doing something like that. And it has been really
or
neat.
if you're an adult or young youth, that you can go in and do your laps and training and then go out and just sit in the sun and relax.
Exactly. And the other thing that we're seeing that I think is really going to be long-term, generationally beneficial to our community is we've got this entire new group of young kids that are falling in love with the pool in a safe environment of a splash park. And now they're getting excited about coming in, taking lessons, and learning that life skill of learning how to swim, which we can see it in the data over and over, is really a life-saving skill. We are protecting people's lives, and we don't even do it. It's all through fun.
Kyle makes a very good point, because if you talk with a lot of folks that do water rescue or whatever, a lot of times the people who do drown never knew how to swim. And they tend to go near the water, whether it's on a river or down the shore, and they're not used to that environment, or even have rudimentary training on how to enjoy recreational swimming. And unfortunately, tragedies like that do happen.
It's astonishing in our young adult accidental death categories, how many lives, how much potential we lose to drowning each year is scary. And I understand why people don't necessarily gravitate to learning that skill. It's sometimes a frightening skill, and when it's generational, if you are a parent or a grandparent that's been afraid of swimming,
you don't necessarily got to say, "Hey, let's go out and go for a swim," because you don't know how to swim yourself. So
exactly. So the
it
exposure
filters down to another generation.
It does, and it keeps just building on itself. And we continue to see that. I'm scared of the water, but we couldn't wait to get out to the spray park. What a way to break that cycle.
Yeah.
This gets so much deeper into it, but it really shows why community centers are so powerful and so good for communities. And when they're well thought out, you can get results that you really don't.
I have to laugh when I stopped there on a Sunday, though. When people were using the furniture that we have out for the first time. We had bought it a year before COVID, but we couldn't put it out last year because of COVID. But everybody was commenting on how comfortable all the furniture is around the pool. So
it really was great. And that's where I go. I think I showed up just shortly after you, and it was interesting to see that cross section of the community, but really enjoying it all together. And it was people reading books, sun tanning, families coming together with their coolers to be able to enjoy a lunch and a chance to just get cool under the water.
The way it was designed, there's a lot of shade out there too. If you want direct sun, you can easily get that. But if you need shade, it's there for you too.
It is, and so they really were enjoying it. And I was a little surprised by that, how comfortable that they were commenting on it. And these are the pleasant surprises that as we open up more and more, that we continue to get to experience with the center.
Now, the actual daycare / childcare component there. Now, when does that come into full swing?
So what we had during
I'm talking about the real little kids.
So the real little kids that we get into, we are beginning in our programming. So on the week of the 21st, our Camp Lenape will begin. And that is a 10-week summer camp where kindergarten on up can participate in a full day of activities. We have been
So this is going to be really the first full, you've had Camp Lenape here for a number of years, but even though we had it partially last year, this will be the first full year where everything will be opened up, that you could use the facility entirely.
We had a few kids that were in it last summer. We said that last year's camp was the first experience of the community center, but this, as you've said, is the first real full flush season with it. So we are at capacity. We have been so grateful to partner with the school district to be able to use their green space to allow the kids to be able to participate in games and fun outside. They get to use the splash park. They get to use the facility. It is the full camp experience. And so we're
you know what,
I
like I said before, I wish I had that experience growing up. There was a lot of great stuff to do in Piscataway growing up, but I'm saying, but this just adds a whole different dimension now for being a young kid in town.
It's truly going to be another dream. As much as they had free reign of the building last year, to be able to have all these activities now to go into that free reign of the facility is just one more step up. So that begins on the 21st. And then we also have started to launch some of our programming, which is for all ages, so swim lessons. from parent-child all the way up to, you know, adult swim lessons that are there. We've got an incredible martial arts class that's going on. We're working.
Now, who is teaching who's the instructors for the martial arts?
For the martial arts is a familiar name. Ray has been one of our fitness instructors, attendants that's out there, but he has also been doing the martial arts program with the rec department for years. And so
Ray Maldonado.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so he has been now taking his skills and his gifts and his crew into the community center when we lost availability for some of the other spaces. And so kids to adults are working together in this classroom setting. And so we're right in the heart of our second session of that. And in the summer, it'll become session number 3. And so a lot of programming opportunities. And then we're continuing to expand that as we find people in the community that are willing to share their gifts and talents. So we're ready to launch our arts programs. We're ready to launch our sports.
So they'll be able to use the arts and crafts room.
Exactly. We're looking at, we're targeting those dates for September to begin full-fledged arts, crafts, and that beautiful art studio will come to life because of it.
Yeah, I can't wait to see that come to full fruition there.
You're not alone.
Yeah.
Many in the community are there, and then of course us as staff.
What I want to see one day, like where arts and crafts are going once, and then down the hallway you have a Zoom or aerobics or Pilates, and then you have the youth center operational full bore, and then the child watch, you know, going along, and then you have the aquatic center full, and you know the fitness center all full, and then the gym, and then the running track, and then people playing golf, and you know, and then at the spray park going, you know, there's a possibility you could have several hundred people there.
There is no doubt. It's you kind of have that vision that you're talking about, is that you can see the whole family unit or the entire household unit coming in, going off and doing what they love, and coming back together and just being able to share their experience at the YMCA and at the Piscataway Community Center. That kind of vision together is just so much fun. And maybe it ends on the spray park. Maybe it ends in the pool, where they're doing something all together after they've just gone and enjoyed their each individual amenity or class.
Well, speaking about pool, I have to laugh. In the locker rooms, we have those spin machines that basically dries the bathing suit with what 30 seconds or less. I want to wait to see when that gets operational with people coming here. So.
It has been amazing. For those that are doing lap swimming, it is so nice to not have to go home with a wet swimsuit in your bag.
Yeah.
So you're right, you throw this in, it's within 10 seconds, the centrifugal force drains off all the water and your suit comes out. You could call it truly dry.
Well, you know, it's kind of funny because you don't realize, to a certain extent, unless you're an advocate, do that on a constant basis, like how much of a great thing that is to, you know, to have, you know, versus, as you said, putting it in a friggin' bag and then dealing with it when you get home.
I'll tell you, there's hundreds of families now that have been either a part of our remote learning or one of our other swim programs that are so grateful that those are installed because they get to walk out more or less dry without this dripping suit. So there's already a full group of advocates for the wonders of what a simple device, but such a nice addition to the
it's
the
a
center.
nice amenity. Well, I want to thank Kyle for stopping by on Piscataway again, and we look forward to having an update during midsummer. We'll probably have you back for a few minutes in July when some of the programming gets up and running. So we're encouraging people, if you haven't been over to the community center yet and thinking about joining, if you want a tour, they always have somebody on staff that can give a tour there, and I know that was happening during the hot time when people were at the spray park. There were also tours were being given. So I strongly encourage you to stop by. It's a great facility, great programming, great staff. Take advantage of something that's right here in your own community. I hope everybody enjoyed our show, but I would like to close out by giving a shout out to our Piscataway 2021 high school graduates who are graduating this year in the month of June.